Are you a successful IT professional and need help optimizing your compensation plan, navigating your taxes and investments? It's time to rewire and retire with Mike. Listen in as Mike gets you the answers you need to move forward with financial confidence. Now, on to the show.
Hello and welcome to Rewire and Retire. Mike, what's going on, man?
Hey, Eric, how are you?
Dude, I'm good. I'm excited. It's 2020. We're into the new year. It's just, I never thought I'd see 2020. That was a big number when I was a kid.
Yeah, it seems like something from the distant future that's slapping us in the face right now, right?
Yeah, I was super excited to come in on my flying car, and which I was really thinking we would have by now, but obviously we don't. But that's okay. We're getting close. You know, I'm looking at Elon. I'm hoping he's gonna, get some things going, right?
There you go. And I'll tell you, it's funny. My sons, I remind them of the Jetsons. I used to watch the Jetsons as a kid growing up.
Yes.
And I was like, you guys have these Apple phones and you can FaceTime and do all these things. When I grew up, that was just like imaginary. We never thought in a million years we'd have it in our lifetimes. And here it is. It's crazy.
It's funny you said that because there's an old commercial, and it was Tom Selleck was the voice of the commercial. I think it was for AT&T. And it said, you're in an airport and you want to see your kids on, when you call them, AT&T is going to bring that to you. I don't think they did. I think it was Apple that brought that to us. I could be wrong, but anyway. Yeah, but those old commercials, those were back in the 80s, and they told the future a little bit too. So
we're dating ourselves now. Yeah.
I know. Okay, let's move on. So what are we talking about today, man?
Hey, just kind of, it's planning season, right? It's a new year. Everybody's got resolutions. Everybody's want to lose weight at the gym and get financially in shape as well. So it's our planning season now. So our heads are down and we're doing a lot of that.
And what does that look like for your clients? I mean, are they initiating it? Are they coming in off the street? Or are you saying, hey, we need to start doing some reviews, and you're doing a little bit of both?
Yeah, the reviews we kind of do towards the end of the prior year, right? So those are all out of the way. And then 2020, or when the calendar flips, I should say, we go right into planning mode, which is people who are already planning clients, we update everything. It's all refreshed. It's all live, and it's just refreshed. And we just go over it to make sure no goals, needs, wants, wishes have changed. Mm-hmm. So we're locked in for the new year.
Yeah. And you work a lot with, and we talked about this on the first podcast, but really a lot of your focus is IT professionals. And you worked in that industry for a long time. And so you really know kind of how that works and the challenges that they face. So how does that work out when you're kind of starting those conversations?
Yeah. So first, I give them a lot of respect. You're right, Eric. It was a world that I used to sleep, eat, and breathe in. And now it's, been doing this for about 12 or 13 years as an advisor. It seems like a long time ago in the rearview mirror, but I remember it like it was yesterday. The time scheduling of IT professionals is crucial. Mm-hmm. Because, you're committed to meetings, you're committed to, doing your job, you're committed to your team. And then there's fires that break out, right? This is going down, that's going down, this crashed, that crashed. We have to fix this, we got to do that. And not necessarily just on the hardware, but software everywhere. And everybody has to respond. So you're drawn out of your game. And then when the fire's put out, everybody wants root cause. So you got to do root cause analysis and then get things patched, fixed, whatever. And then right back to your job right after that. Mm-hmm. So it's, you were humming along, then we hit this bump in the road, all hands on deck. And then, the road gets smooth after that. But now you're back to work with less time because you spent a lot of time putting out that fire. So time management's a huge, huge skill. Yeah,
and I think that I have a ton of respect for anybody that works in IT just because technology changes every second of every day. Like we were just talking about. We were talking about, what we had when we were kids, and I remember having a speak and spell and thinking that was freaking amazing, right? It was this box that would talk to me. It was super robotic voice, but I thought that was pretty amazing at my age of whatever, 8 or 10 or whatever age I was. And with technology changing all the time, I really think of IT professionals almost like the folks that are trying to guide aircraft into an airport. There's constant, movement. There's constant change, constant threats, whether it's, for an air traffic controller, there's weather, there's other airplanes, there's other things. But for an IT person, I don't know if the threats are as visible as bad weather or another plane coming in fast and hard. I don't know. It just seems to me that they have to pivot all the time.
Yeah, true. And there's malware, there's viruses, there's denial of service attacks. There's a lot of things that are
Yeah.
going on an enterprise level, not just on a team level, but on the enterprise. There's
Hmm.
threats, and you're right. Those are really something that they want to prevent, obviously. But things happen, right? Planes have to circle before they can land because they got to de-ice the runway.
Exactly.
Things get put to the back burner in IT, in the IT professionals world, because there are things like viruses and denial of service attacks and things like that that take you off your game again, not just an outage, so to speak, but something more broad, more threatening.
Right. I mean, that's kind of the bottom line of what we're talking
Right.
about. How do you help them navigate their finances when it comes to being secure in their future and having their goals and plans that they're making? How do you help them to achieve those so that they don't have to do so much of it? I mean, it's another daunting task on their plate.
Yeah, so when I work with somebody, number one, I always want to test out and see how serious they are about committing to the process, right? Financial planning is a process. There's really not a lot of fun things involved with gathering data and things like that. It's a pain in the hiney, right? But at the end of the day, what I like to bring to the table is efficiencies. I like to move fast. When I get, a guy or a gal in my office and we're going over financial planning, and I tell them upfront what we're going to need and the kind of commitment, I try to squeeze every drop of juice out of that lemon. I really, really do, because I know how critical and precious their time is to them. So I just try to move within those efficiencies. I try to just be super, organized, super on target. That's just in the engagement phase, and there's several phases after that through the financial planning process that take place. But the goal is to move efficiently, concisely, and deliberately so I can show them that I can work in your world. I get it. Time is crucial, but I'm part of your overall well-being financially speaking. Let's take it seriously, but Mike moves fast. Mike moves deliberate. He has a process.
Got it. And that's exactly the world they live in. They're moving fast. They have to react and be proactive on a lot of levels. So being proactive obviously is one of your specialties. What's that first step?
Yeah, the first step really is a fit meeting. I do it through a phone call. So the phone will ring and somebody will say, I hear you work with so-and-so. I want to consider, talking to you about my situation. So a fit phone call gets scheduled from that point. 25-minute phone call, again, sensitive to their time constraints, or a Skype or whatever way you decide to meet. Just to see if I can provide what they're looking for. I want to make sure I'm a good fit, right? We're not all things to all people. We're all things to some people. And it's
Yeah.
my job to figure out who those people are.
Got it. Got it. Yeah, again, that's incredibly important because anybody that's in a position like you, you could take everybody, right? Yeah, come on in, I'll work with you. But again, that's not who you want. You don't want to work with everybody because you want people that are committed to the process. You want people that are truly invested, not only just obviously financially, but time-wise and emotionally invested in their future, because those are the people that are, I think, personally more fun to work with anyway. I'll give you,
Yeah, that's right.
yeah.
It's about the relationship, Eric. You hit it on the head, right? Part of that fit phone call isn't just to see, do you have X amount of assets? Do you have this? Do you have, no, it's first and foremost, do we get along?
Yeah.
Are you going to enjoy working with me? Am I going to enjoy knocking myself out for you? Because it's a commitment, right? And you want to make sure the work that you do is, number one, appreciated, and that the people that you do the work for appreciate what you're doing for them. So yeah, the first step of the process is the fit meeting. Then the second step is they come through my door. We meet face to face. Again, if they're in California, we Skype, or we do whatever we got to do with technology to get together. After that fit meeting, we talk about, what they're looking for specifically. And this can go on for maybe an hour, right? This next meeting, depending on how much time they want to give it. But I always go out and offer that hour. And then from that point on, we'll kind of formulate where they're going. Do they need a plan? Do they need a project? Do they need just asset management? There's a lot of different ways the road can fork after that first meeting. But ideally, and most IT guys appreciate this, they want a plan. They want something that they can work towards. They're very task oriented because that's the world they live in. And a financial plan provides that, right? It's the outline and says, here's where we are. Here's how we're going to get to that next point. And here's how I can help you.
This is only, I think we're on the second podcast here. Tell me what that looks like when it comes to, hey, if we're going to work together, here's what we're going to be doing, and here's what your responsibilities are, and here's what I do.
Right. And that's the commitment in that second meeting. So after the FIT meeting and we have our first face-to-face meeting that we know we get along, at least we think we do, and we start really etching things out, that's where the commitment phase happens. Like, how committed are you to this process, right? Are you going to, listen? I'm going to listen. I always listen, right? But are you going to listen to me? So we kind of have a gentleman or gentlewoman's agreement at that point, Eric, where we say, I'm committed to helping you succeed financially. You have to show me that back. And the way you show me that back is when I ask for X, Y, or Z, I get it. I know you can't get it to me tomorrow or that day, but I need it because I'm helping you. So lacing up the boot is simply, keeping you on task and reminding you why we're going down this road, right? A lot of times I'll get a person through the door and they'll say, well, I have all these stock options and these restricted stocks and, every year I have tax issues and I don't know what to do. And I'm like, all right, well, let's start with what you want to achieve. Forget all that noise for a minute. Tell me what you want. When do you want to retire? When do you see yourself not working anymore? We start with the end in sight and work our way backwards. And I think that makes our approach a little bit different.
Yeah. Well, and I think it makes it more effective, but for sure. So let me ask you this. When you begin this process, what are some of the main mistakes that you see happening within this industry specifically?
Yeah, like anything else, it's and IT people get this garbage in, garbage out, right? If we're not good at getting information back, or it's slipshod information, it's not accurate, or it's back of a napkin kind of, here's kind of what I have, that's not going to work. Like, we need specifics, right? We're talking about, your financial well-being, your family's financial well-being, your future, can you retire early? I need to know these things. It's not, it's not something that you can just kind of wing. It's something that you have to be committed to. And that's what I look for. Are you committed? Because I know I will commit. Another big mistake that I see people making, not working with me, but other people just, come through the door or kicking the tires. They're super concentrated in their company stock, and they get there in an honest way, right? When they first start working at the company, a lot of times they're incentivized to buy the stock, right? They get employee stock purchase, so they're doing that, and then they get promoted, and then they get into management, and then with that come options and restricted stock units, and so again, all the same ticker symbol, all the same company stock. Okay, so it's good, and they're buying it through their payroll. They might even own it in their 401k, right? Because when you work at a company, it's normal, it's natural to have an emotional attachment to your stock.
Yeah, you got some pride in your company, right?
That's right. And that's why they incentivize people with it, right? Like, hey, you're part of the team, you're doing things, you're making changes, you're making the organization better, you're making it more efficient, whatever you may be doing, right? You're great at what you're doing.
Yep.
The problem is you're getting rewarded with the same thing. And that same thing can be a really good experience. I work with a lot of guys and gals that work at, Fortune 500 companies, and the stock is just off the chain. It's just done incredibly, incredibly well. And then along comes Mike, and Mike says, hey, you own too much of your company stock. It's time to diversify. And they look at me like I have 6 heads.
Yeah.
Because in their heart of hearts, Eric, they know, right? They know they have too much. And they now I'm their financial conscience, and I'm saying, hey, look, you own too much of a good thing, and we got to diversify. That's the big word in any investment platform. You got to diversify.
Yeah.
We've all heard the horror stories about the companies that go bankrupt and the employees never thought they would. And I'm not here to scare anybody, but those do happen, right? We've seen it happen. I could rattle off the names. I'm not going to do it, but everybody knows who they are. So I come along with that as prior experience, saying, look, you're 80%, 70%, 50% of your portfolio is in one stock. Does that make any sense?
Yeah.
And the answer is no, it doesn't.
Correct. Because, and you brought up companies that have failed and gone bankrupt, but even beyond that, let's take a look at something less, I don't know if you want to say less scary, but less dramatic. How about 01 and 02? How about 08 and 09? Those happen, right? Recessions happen. And we're not looking into a crystal ball saying, ooh, a recession is going to happen like we're geniuses. Bottom line, recessions happen. If it goes up, it has to come down at some point. We just don't know when. So
that's right.
Having way too much into one company, for anybody, whether you work at the company or whether you're just a guy that has an extra $10 million that you want to buy all one stock, it's just a terrible idea. Diversification, like you said, is the best. So how do you help them overcome that? Because, right, I mean, you said they look at you like you have six heads. And I kind of picture, they're standing there and this company's kind of raining money down on them. And you're walking in going, yeah, this isn't a good idea. You're like, wait a second, look at all this money they're giving me. Look at all this, these options they're giving me. What do you mean it's not a good idea?
I'm the most popular guy at the water cooler right there.
Exactly.
Where I go with that, Eric, is I'll ask them, I'll be like, if you didn't have to own all your company stock today, would you? And then I watch their body language. I watch what they say. I watch how they move, because it tells me a lot. And again, we went over the emotional attachment to the stock, right? There's a reason right there. It's been so good to me.
Yes.
I've been an employee for 20 years and it's just gone off the chain. The stock is just crushing it. And it, it's paying for all my vacations, my kids' colleges. Like, it's great. I get that, right? And I see that. But then I go to them, if there wasn't any tax pain associated with diversifying your portfolio, would you do it? And you get these looks like, you can do that? And depending on a lot of factors, and a lot of times we can provide instant diversification, things that, people, the average person doesn't know about, right? Which they have to seek a professional, a seasoned professional that does know these things. And if their advisors aren't bringing that to their attention, it's time to take another look.
Absolutely.
You got to diversify. And again, that's the laced up boot that I will provide to people. It's like, I get it from an emotional perspective. I get it from a tax perspective. I can't help you with the emotion part. That's yours. But what I can help you with is the tax part. And I can help you see the bigger picture, because everybody knows it's a problem.
Yeah.
But it's a good problem sometimes. When it goes up, it's a great problem. When it comes down, it's a bad problem, like every other problem. So diversification is huge. We have ways to get them there.
Yeah. And the funny thing is I've worked for a few different companies in my lifetime where the company was small enough, large enough that it was a good sized company, but small enough where I knew the owner, right? And I think there's a lot of companies out there where these IT folks are working that they're probably small enough where they kind of see the owner, or they know who the owner is. And that's another emotional bond, right? I'll tell you, Jack was the owner of a company I worked with, and Jack was great. Every day he'd walk by, he knew my name. Hey, Eric, how are you doing? And it was just it was a good relationship. And so you wanna honor Jack by the stocks that I've got, and so on and so forth. But so overcoming that emotion is obviously something that you're helping your clients do, and that's part of the planning process. So can you give me an example of how you help somebody? Let's say 60% of their portfolio is in this company stock. How do you help them have a better plan?
Yeah, the first thing I would do is take someone from, that has a stock that the dividend reinvests, to stop reinvesting the dividend. It sounds simple, it sounds basic, but that's where the healing begins, right? If the stock does pay a dividend, it usually pays quarterly. Instead of reinvesting that dividend to buy more stock and compounding the problem, I simply say, hey, what would your thoughts be if we didn't reinvest the dividend and we let it accumulate, and we start investing that into a portfolio that's diversified around your company stock, right? So I already know what the company stock's profile looks like, because that's part of the process we take you through. And then I say, okay, your stock fits into this category. So when we invest the dividends, we're going to invest it in things that are not in that category. And now we start the immediate diversification.
Yeah. I mean, that makes 100% sense. I didn't think about that part of it. Yeah. All right. And then what would be the second step?
Well, the second step would be, and everyone's different, right? Everybody's situation is different. The second step is, to go back to the plan and show the plan. How does it look like if we slowly start chopping away at this massive 60, 70, 80% piece of your investments, and see what that looks like over time? It's really cool what we can do with the software. Not to toot our own horn, but you can really see how it lays out over several years. So in other words, Eric, if we're doing this today, for example, not reinvesting the dividends today, and we know the amount of dividends coming out, we can show them what it looks like in 5 years from now. And that, that big chunk is not getting bigger. It's actually getting smaller, depending on the growth of the stock, obviously. But the other thing that's becoming bigger is the portfolio that we're adding to with the dividends. And
Absolutely.
They see it. Once they see it start working, they start believing I can get out of this, right? And there's other techniques that we use. We do loss harvesting, right? There's another one at the end of the year. Maybe parts of your portfolio are up or parts of your portfolio are down. We're extremely busy. You were asking me earlier before we got on the podcast, like, how was your end of your year? It was crazy, right? Because we do a lot of loss harvesting at the end of the year. So we'll sell things that have a loss and take the gains in the other column. Guess where we take the gains from? Yeah, your company stock, right?
Yeah.
So you're able to get out of some of it without any tax pain. And that's the other thing. We talked about the emotional driver. Thank you. The tax pain is the other part, right? That I don't want to pay. I know if I sold my stock today, I'm going to owe a lot in taxes. Well, you're going to owe a lot in taxes no matter when you sell the stock, right? So we use techniques to soften the blow for sure.
Nice. Hey, we're running out of time today, Mike. Any closing thoughts for us today?
My closing thoughts are, if you're thinking about, diversifying, if you're thinking about financial planning, do it. Whether it's with me or another seasoned professional, that's fine. Just take the first step. Take the initiative. Meet with somebody, right? Go through their process. Go through a fit meeting. Go to a first meeting. And maybe you don't learn from the first person you meet or the second person you meet, right? But you might find the guy or gal that clicks for you and be like, that's the person that gets me. They understand my finances. They know my problems. They know where I'm going. And that's the person you want to commit to work with for a while. They can really help you.
Yeah, absolutely. Great advice. And I appreciate the time today, Mike.
Thank you, Eric. I appreciate it.
And thank you all for listening to the Rewire and Retire podcast. If you have not subscribed to the podcast yet, please click the subscribe now button below. This way, when Mike comes out with a new podcast, it'll show up directly on your listening device. This makes it much easier to share these podcasts with your friends, family, and your coworkers. And again, thank you so much for listening today. For everyone at Guarino Wealth Management, this is Eric Johnson reminding you to live your best day every day. And we'll see you next time.
Thank you for joining us on the Rewire and Retire podcast. If you want to learn more about how we can help troubleshoot your financial and retirement strategies, click the subscribe button below to be notified when new episodes become available. The information covered and posted represents the views and opinions of the guest and does not necessarily represent the views or opinions of Guarino Wealth Management. The content has been made available for informational and educational purposes only. The content is not intended to be a substitute for professional investing advice. Investing involves risk, including loss of principal. There is no guarantee that a diversified portfolio will enhance overall returns or outperform a non-diversified portfolio. Diversification does not protect against market risk. Always seek the advice of your financial advisor or other qualified financial service provider with any questions you may have regarding your investment planning. Securities and advisory services offered through LPL Financial, a registered investment advisor. Member FINRA/SIPC.